This is a recording of an early Buddhist text called One Fine Night. It is about learning to live in the present, not run to the past or to hope for the future. Don't run back to the past. Don't hope for the future. What's past is left behind. The future has not arrived. And phenomena in the present are clearly seen in every case. Knowing this, foster it, unfaltering, unshakable. Today is the day to keenly work. Who knows, tomorrow may bring death. For there is no bargain to be struck with death and his mighty hordes. The peaceful sage explained is those who keenly meditate like this, tireless all day and night, who truly have that one fine night. And how do you run back to the past? You master delight there, thinking, I had such bodily form in the past. I had such feelings, perception, choice, consciousness in the past. That's how you run back to the past. And how do you not run back to the past? You don't master delight there, thinking, I had such form in the past. I had such feelings, perception, choice, consciousness in the past. That's how you don't run back to the past. So let me give a brief explanation here. In Buddhist psychology, what we call the personality, the synonym is ego. So what makes up a personality and ego self that we hold on to so tightly too? First, there is the bodily form. We cling on to this bodily form. We don't wish it to grow old, fall sick and die. But yet, we can't. So actually the body is an impersonal thing, but we take it personally. So it's very strange when you do your meditation and you feel pain. Did you ask for the pain? Do you ask to, for example, let out air when you eat too much, when you have too much air in your body, and then it disturbs the others in meditation? No, you don't want that. But yet, we like to possess the body by saying, oh, I farted. Oh, I'm feeling pain. Do you ask for it? Clearly you didn't ask for it. So why do you call the body yours? The same for feelings. Feelings in the past is already past. You no longer have those same feelings. But by reminiscing it, you bring back those feelings. And you imagine it to always exist in you. No, it's only by memory that you brought that feeling back. That is not you. Same, you could recall the perception that caused that feeling to arise and the choices you make. You could think of the past and delight in it this way, thinking how happy you were. But those were all in the past. They are no longer with you right now. Just as you may be hurt by someone and you recall that memory of being hurt again and again. When you recall that memory of being hurt, you're actually allowing yourself to get hurt again right now in the present moment. So therefore, all of this, the perception, the choices, the consciousness then, all belong to the past. They have no validity now. And when you master delight there can be a lot of stress, especially for one who is unhappy now and they think of the past, which are already gone. How would that make them feel? Would they feel even worse? Yes, because you can't get the past back. So it continues. And how do you hope for the future? You master delight there, thinking, may I have such form in the future, bodily form in the future? May I have such feelings, perception, choice, consciousness in the future? And that's how you hope for the future. And how do you not hope for the future? You don't master delight there, thinking, may I have such a form in the future? May I have such feelings, perception, choice, and consciousness in the future? That's how you don't hope for the future. Now let's examine this. Why do you not hope for the future? Every time we feel despair, we bring ourselves out of despair by hoping. And then we hope and we build on our hope and we work towards it. But when that future does come, most people actually feel empty. They feel that whatever they have built toward did not come together as they had imagined. And they are not totally satisfied. As you can see, what I think about today, how I feel today by thinking about that future, will be very different from when that future actually is. So there is no point hoping and thinking of the future. When we hope, we also create the possibility of disappointment. Rather, instead of hoping and mastering delight in the future, why not just be here now and work on what you can now? After all, we may no longer be here in the future. We may hope for a bodily form we want to have, especially for young people. They think of 20 years down the road. They imagine how successful they are, how beautiful they can be with the money they have. But yet, it turns out all different. It could be disappointing from how they imagine it. So rather, why not just focus on the present, the body that you have now, which you may not have tomorrow? So that's what this text is saying, for death may come tomorrow. Instead of hoping for the perception and feeling of joy that you feel you could have in the future, why not have it now? And how do you falter amid presently arisen phenomenon? The text says, how do you falter? Meaning you're no longer aware. How do you falter, not be aware of presently arisen phenomenon? It is when an uneducated, ordinary person has not seen the noble ones. Noble ones means people who actually understand how the law of nature works. And instead of fighting it, they live in it without that greed and without that aversion, and just being one with nature. Yeah? It is when an ordinary and uneducated person has not seen a noble one, somebody who knows the law of nature, and is neither skilled nor trained in the teaching of the noble ones, meaning they never heard the truth of how things actually are and how they actually work. It is not so much physics like, okay, I know how the fan works by putting things together. No, it's more than that. The way we think, the things we say, and how we act actually are natural forces in themselves. Okay, so these ordinary uneducated people are not aware. They have not heard such teachings. They have never met such people who actually knows. So then they regard the bodily form as self, and they regard the self as having form. Form in the self or self in the form, meaning they feel that there is a soul sitting inside the body or there is a body sitting inside a soul. So they regard feeling, perception, choices, or rather mental formations that cause you to make a choice, and consciousness, the content of your consciousness, as a self. Self as having consciousness, meaning there is a soul inside that has consciousness, and consciousness in self, or self in consciousness. So that's how you falter amid presently arisen phenomenon. Meaning when we hold on to all of this beliefs system that the body is in the soul is in the body, that there is only consciousness inside the body, or there is only a self that has consciousness and is different from other people's, or there is a self in consciousness, meaning there's a particular personality that exists in consciousness. So these are the belief systems we have that build this personality or ego that prevents us from seeing the way things work, how they work, how there is a cause and effect to your thoughts, to what you say and how you act, and how that could generate an overall effect in your environment, the society, and the world. So we don't see all these things. We don't see how the body really is, the feelings really are, how your perception keeps changing, and how you act upon them thinking that they are permanent. Because of this strong belief that I, the ego, exist and have power, and that's how we falter and fail to observe what is truth in the present moment. So how do you not falter amid presently arisen phenomenon? How do you stay mindful? It is when an educated noble disciple has seen the noble ones, and is skilled and trained in the teachings of the noble ones, meaning you have met a good teacher who understands things as they are, you listen and you practice. So they have seen good persons who are skilled and trained in the teaching of good persons. So they don't regard the form as self. They don't regard the self as having a form. They don't regard the form in the self or self in the form. They don't regard feeling, perception, choices, consciousness as self. They don't regard self as having consciousness. They don't regard consciousness in self or self in consciousness. That's how you don't falter amid presently arisen phenomenal. So when we are willing to put aside all of our belief system that I am separate from all because I have a soul sitting in the body or there's a body sitting in a soul, that's when our mind is able to observe, to investigate what's happening in the present, in your body, in the feelings, in your perception, and in your thought formations. And you realize that all of these are just contents in the consciousness that are in a flux, forever changing. There's nothing you can grab hold of. Whereas in your daily life, you live in a contrary manner. You're always trying to grab hold of something. So don't run back to the past. Don't hope for the future. What's past is left behind. The future has not arrived. And phenomena in the present are clearly seen in every case. Knowing this, foster this. Foster your awareness. Foster your mindfulness in the present moment so that it is unfaltering, unshakable. Today's the day where you keenly work because there is only today. Who knows, tomorrow death may come, for there is no bargain to be struck with death and his mighty hordes. The peaceful sage explained is those who keenly meditate like this, tireless all night and day, who truly have that one fine night.